Imagine a UK economy reshaped by Nigel Farage's Reform Party. It's a vision that's both intriguing and polarizing, promising sweeping changes that could redefine how the country operates. Farage recently delivered a speech outlining his economic priorities, offering the most detailed glimpse yet into what a reform government might look like. While no new policies were announced, the speech shed light on 6 key areas of focus. But here's where it gets controversial. Are these ideas bold reforms or risky gambles? Let's dive in. 1. Tax cuts. A promise or a pipe dream? Earlier this year, Reform pledged to raise the income tax threshold from £12,570 to £20,000, potentially lifting thousands out of taxation. Sounds great, right? But there's a catch. It would cost the Treasury over £40 billion annually. Amid growing scrutiny, Farage has backtracked, calling it an eventual aspiration rather than an immediate commitment. Is this a pragmatic retreat or a broken promise? He argues it's impossible to predict the economy's state by the next election, but critics wonder if this is just a way to avoid accountability. One firm pledge, however, stands out: reversing Labour's inheritance tax changes for farms. Yet, raising the tax threshold primarily benefits wealthier taxpayers, leaving many to question its fairness. 2. Benefits, wages, and pensions. Who wins, who loses? Reform claims it can save £9 billion annually by tightening eligibility for personal independence payments, PIP. But what about their pledge to scrap the 2-child limit on benefits like universal credit? Farage clarifies this would only apply to UK nationals with both parents working, a significant limitation. Is this a targeted approach or a discriminatory policy? Meanwhile, his non-committal on the triple lock for pensions but suggests the minimum wage might be too high for younger workers. Economists warn against cutting benefits without addressing mental health issues, and many question the fairness of restricting the 2-child cap to UK nationals. 3. The rich and the entrepreneurs, a special breed? Farage spends little time on the cost of living crisis, instead focusing on what he calls an exodus of wealthy individuals and entrepreneurs due to high taxes. But is this narrative based on reality or rhetoric? Evidence suggests otherwise, yet Farage insists these economic elites must be protected at all costs. While entrepreneurs undoubtedly drive growth, his emphasis on the rich feels at odds with his earlier claims that reform is the party of workers and unions. Can reform truly represent both groups, or is this a contradiction? 4. Pensions. A silent revolution? Public sector workers might not be reform's core supporters, but winning an election requires broader appeal. Yet, hints of scrapping defined benefit pensions for this group could alienate them. Farage remains vague, focusing instead on reducing council fees for pension administration. Is this a subtle way to cut costs, or a necessary reform? Labour's plans to consolidate council retirement schemes might already render Farage's ideas redundant by 2029. 5. Energy and net zero. Drilling for trouble? Farage's stance on net zero is clear. He calls it a lunatic push and promises to prioritise new fossil fuel drilling in the North Sea. But will this actually lower energy costs, as he claims? Evidence is scarce, and polling suggests most voters support net zero targets. While Ed Miliband faces pressure to slow solar and wind projects, Farage's approach risks alienating environmentally conscious voters. Is this a bold energy strategy or a step backward? 6. Diversity and inclusion. A return to the past? Farage's views on diversity policies echo those of Donald Trump, criticizing what he sees as excessive regulation. He nostalgically recalls his days as a city trader, claiming merit was the only criterion. But is this a rose-tinted view of the past? Many women and people of color who worked in the city during that era might disagree, pointing to systemic barriers. Does Farage's vision exclude those who've benefited from diversity initiatives? The bigger question: what kind of UK does reform envision? Farage's economic blueprint is ambitious, but it raises more questions than answers. Is this a plan for a fairer, more prosperous UK, or one that favours the few at the expense of the many? What do you think? Are Farage's ideas the shake-up the UK needs, or a risky experiment? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. Agree or disagree, the debate is wide open.